We're not worthy.
Hello all. I'm not worthy of your attention. So also think about this idea of moms. Everyone comes with it differently, and for me, so my grandfather was a lawyer. My grandmother was one of the first women in her company. My mom went to law school and was a law professor, and so we grew up like in a home where like, I don't know, challenging and debating was like very much encouraged, and this idea of like scholarly mind. So that's like more when I think of my mom, that's like where my head goes. So I'm just gonna put that out there now because it might take you a sec to find the connection to what we're talking about. This is a brand new piece. It's a very workshop-y version, so bear with me. And we're gonna figure this out together.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
I know as much as you do.
Oh, the piece is called Gentrification.
Oh shit.
Yeah, shit's heavy. Chicago in the 90s was about the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan gliding across the court in shoes made for him. Scottie Pippen tall and commanding. Dennis Rodman, damn, that dude was his own branding. I still remember when they won in 1996. Their faces gleamed on billboards, t-shirts, hats, flags, pennants, posters, weed boxes, license plate, trading cards, and wall clocks. I read a children's book on Michael's life twice. These larger-than-life figures, towering idols of my city, my home, my entire world, and these men that I idolized as a child, modeled my life on, wanted to be, were all of them black. But children don't perceive race like we do, don't see a history of redlining neighborhoods out of house and home, a city set up to tax folks with skin darker than marshmallow before they even grown. The Chicago fire happened over 100 years ago, and we act like we're still scared of folks that get a little ashy. Now that's some trashy bullshit, but I wouldn't know it till years later when all the houses on my block started to go on sale. The thing about white flight is that everyone assumes that you will just follow. That if Jim on the corner is a racist, then you must be also. But not my house. Cabrini Green, the Robert Taylor homes, these were the infamous Chicago housing projects that stood as a blemish on the city. In the most segregated city in the country, they exacerbated the divide. The city started demolishing these buildings in 1995. And folks needed somewhere to live, and the neighborhood was already diverse, and the schools were good, and in the Midwest, people are already nice, and white people wouldn't say anything overt, just covertly pack up their bags and leave, because that barber doesn't know how to sew a weave, and that deli doesn't know how to cook fried chicken, and in the school class sizes were already getting large as it is, and the line has been getting longer at the bank, and there are more people hanging out at the library, and suddenly there isn't room at the diner counter for the regulars, and the park suddenly doesn't feel safe at night, and the people are not quite as friendly, and the mailman doesn't tip his hat anymore, and the mailman doesn't look like me anymore. And what if my kids start hanging out with the wrong people? What if my kids become the wrong people? Nah. People in the Midwest don't say anything racist, but they sure say everything else. My home was different. We talked about race over the dinner table, discussed implicit bias and why it was important to stay in the community. My mom would lead the conversation, a superhero of equality if only in the dining room. She took night classes, studied diversity, where she would take home her textbook, read it to my brother and I, tell us about the debates in class over a tea bag, and then encourage us to plant our flag of tolerance and welcome new neighbors from wherever they had come. There was Jordan from down the street who'd come over after school. We started a multiracial rock band in my basement. I played the xylophone, he played the violin. It was in a basement to music, so we shut it down after 2 rehearsals. Then there was Justin around the corner who would proudly laugh so loudly that the conversation would have to ground me to a halt. The twins Martin and Nelson who loved Hot Wheels cars, and Darius was goofy, and Najib was studious, and Maya was full of grace and poise, and Destiny played the clarinet. In fact, everyone on the school bus was black, except for me. If you want to be part of a community, then be part of a community. This is the lesson I've taken with me to New York, where I see the opposite taking hold. Black folks forced out by those same white people who aren't racist. But that bodega is dirty, and that barber doesn't know how to cut white people hair, and that deli doesn't serve kale, and the library is a little too loud, and the park seems a little shady at night. And wouldn't it be easier with a Starbucks? And wouldn't it be easier with a Chase Bank? Because I want to chase what matters, especially if it means building up resources that lack. I just want to get rid of all the people that are not as financially well off. But call me a racist and I'll buy your brownstone and make sure you don't have a home. It's all in the name of progress, like Pilgrim's Progress. You ever read it? That's puritanical beliefs woven into a story. It's kind of like an allegory if we still needed allegories. But we talk as if 40 acres and a mule has already come about, as if retribution has happened, so that when I push you out, it can't be construed as about skin color, but maybe deep down the thing that divides is not us living under different skies, but rather that we are all living inside different lies. So how are we to survive next door if we derive happiness as a cultural monolith of white? One culture to rule them all. We, the quote, angel-headed hipsters burning the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo machine in the machinery of night, unquote, have burned down that connection in our Instagram posts of what is cultural normalcy, of what a neighborhood would look like. Because in that Woody Allen movie I saw before I moved here, everyone was white. And no one played dominoes on the street. And no one asked for money on the subways, and no one was shot by a police officer, and no one was blasting hip-hops from fire escapes, and everyone could afford the coffee, and everyone could afford the rent, and everyone could afford $12 lattes so you could take a photo in front of them, and everybody loved it. But that's not New York. I moved here for the dominoes and the hip-hop and the kids running through fire hydrants and the block parties, and the opportunity to be challenged every day. Because if I just wanted monolith toting, Instagram promoting, overpriced gloating, I could have gone to Long Island. If you're going to live in New York City, then live in New York City. Don't gentrify.